I'm here today with Poonam Bagai. She's a philanthropist, patient advocate, and the founder of CanKids KidsCan, a national NGO that works the entire spectrum of childhood cancer care. She's a cancer survivor herself, but she's fought through to become the woman behind making cancer treatment accessible for thousands of kids across the country, along with support groups for their caretakers. She's come a long way, ma'am. It is an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for making time for me today.
Thank you, Vrinda. It's good to be with you.
Mhm. So, without further ado, I want to know, how did your journey with CanKids begin in the first place?
So, Vrinda, I was originally a class one civil services officer. I was on leave of absence and had gone overseas as an expatriate wife. And I had cancer in year 2000 in Warsaw. I was 38. My boys were 7 and 3 at that time, and I was devastated. It was a really, really tough 1 year with multiple surgeries and chemotherapies. I also slipped into depression. And it was a lot of it was not to do with why me, it was to do with what have I done with my life and what do I have to show for it. That was one piece of it. And the other piece of it was, what about my kids? I mean, I'm going to die. Every day I thought I was going to die. And I kept thinking, what will happen to my little kids? So I think that particular journey was tough. I also had a colostomy, a bag on the side. I hated that colostomy with a passion. So it was a tough time. There were a lot of friends and family who rallied, who supported me through that time. But also, that particular journey resulted in my making a pledge, in fact, a plea bargain with my spiritual maker. I said, God, please let me live. I promise I'll go back to India and look after every child with cancer in India. Just let me survive. So I survived and I was given life and I committed to coming back to India to help children with cancer. I think it was all tied up with, what is the meaning of my life? I've been privileged. Have had a great education. I was at St. Stephen's College. I did well. Got into the civil services. When I got sick, I had insurance cover. So I had everything. And yet I felt that I had done very little to give back. And I felt that I hadn't done very little to make my life really meaningful.
Mm.
So I think that to me was my personal journey back to India with a pledge and a resolve to make a difference to the lives of children with cancer and to fight a war against cancer.
Mm.
And this is how my journey began.
Hmm. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think KidsCan was established in 2004.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
came
yeah.
back to India in year 2001, and 2002 I started volunteering with Indian Cancer Society at All India Institute.
Mm.
I needed to learn how to, make that pledge come true. I had no idea. I had never volunteered as a student except SUPW, which used to be, some useful, productive work that you had to do in school.
Mm.
So I knew nothing about the development sector. I had been a bureaucrat.
Mm.
uh, I started learning what it was. I would go and sit on chatais in Ames and try to understand what families needed, what were their challenges, what would I need to do to make a difference to the life of every child with cancer in the country, which was my pledge. And
Mm.
so,
Mm.
yes, so in about 2003, me and my co-founder Sonal, I met her while volunteering at Indian Cancer Society. And we would play with the children and we would try to understand what families needed. And I told her, listen, Sonal, I've come back pledged to make a difference to children with cancer. And she
Mm.
said, well, my daughter had cancer and I don't think any parent should have to fight cancer alone. So I'm pledged to look after parents of children with cancer. So I said, okay, then how about we get together? So we got together. We met and went and met the president of Indian Cancer Society in New Delhi and said, look, we want to set up a unit for children with cancer. I
Mm.
wanted to call it CanKids KidsCan. I told him, Mr. Mehta, bless his soul, he's no more. But I told him, I said, so I think I can do this. I want to do this with the independence and the space as a unit of Indian Cancer Society. And I promise I will make a difference. So that's how CanKids started.
Mm. So from, tracing back to that to today, I mean, it's been a long time. So how do you see the impact that CanKids has brought about?
So, Vrinda, when we started originally, we used to work in 4 hospitals in Delhi, and we would go there to try to see how to make a difference to the lives of children with cancer and their families. We learned, and as we learned, we grew. We learned first how to hold the hands of families. We learned what support services they needed, how to exactly to make that impact. And we grew and grew. So today, CanKids works with 125 childhood cancer treating centers in 53 cities of the country. And when we do that, we basically run a protocol called You Are Not Alone. I'm holding your hand through the cancer journey and providing social support services, providing manpower, social support teams, providing care centers for families who come from outside the city for treatment, just providing the whole spectrum of support, but
Mm.
also, working with doctors and treating teams to actually improve standards of treatment, care, and support. So this is where we are today. We work with, as I said, over 125 childhood cancer treating centers. We have MOUs with 7 state governments as their knowledge and technical partners for change for childhood cancer in India. So this has been what we've achieved. We're a large team. We have over 3,000 plus people in Can Kids. And we work, as I said, with a lot of stakeholders to really make a difference to the lives of children with cancer.
That's great. So I mean, it's pretty obvious that this means so much to you. It's a very meaningful project for you. But what is the most important part of this vision for you?
So, as I said, I wanted to make a difference to the life. Promised, right? I pledged I would reach out to every child with cancer in the country. And I feel that that is a vision which I feel that, I've been able to realize. I think 2 years ago, I used to say we reach Andaman and Nicobar, I'll know that we have actually reached somewhere. And then 2 years ago, I found that we had supported children from every single state in the country. And we had a child from Andaman and Nicobar who we'd supported. So I said, okay, this is a pledge fulfilled, right? And that was a very, very special moment, to say that, okay, I did a plea bargain like a, Bollywood Nautanki queen, mujhe jeene do bhagwan. If I survive, I promise I'll go back to India, and this is what I'll do. And then I really felt that a lot of people, of course, have helped. We've been able to grow. We've been able to structure well, but that, my personal pledge was around what have I done with all that I had, with all that I was given by my spiritual maker. What did I give back? So I feel on a personal basis, I feel like, I have fulfilled a pledge. I feel like I have truly given back. I feel like that life that was given to me became so precious. And with that life, I have actually made a difference. So that's a personal feeling of achievement. But on a larger scale, yes, we took one cause, and that was childhood cancer, 0 to 19 years of age. And we worked methodically and systematically to actually grow an organization and to use that organization as a vehicle to make that change,
Mm.
right? And so, again, in terms of if you asked about what is that achievement or what is the important part of this vision, and I think the important part is that whatever we have done in a way that that idea of when a child has cancer, the family needs full support and needs the best treatment, care, and support. And why should it be that if I live in the US or in a country where 80% children survive, I will survive, but if I'm in India, I won't. Or if I'm a well off Indian, I will, but if I'm from some smaller town or village, I won't. That's inequity. In
Mm.
fact, the WHO Director General Dr. Tedros said it's the most profound inequity, right, in the healthcare space. That when children with cancer can survive and the survival rates in developed countries is 80%, then why should it be so low in a country like ours? Only because people don't have access.
Mm.
Only because, they don't have the funding or they don't have the knowledge of where to go. So I think in terms of an achievement of a vision, I think we have worked towards achieving that.
Mm, right. And throughout your journey, has there ever been a point where maybe you think that, as compared to your male counterparts, your journey would have been much smoother?
So, I thought about it and I said, if you ask me as you said, a woman leader, right? So I
Yes.
would, as a woman in the development sector, there are a lot of women in the development sector. I think there is a natural affinity for women to work in the development sector. So I've
Mm,
never felt that there were significant challenges of being a woman in the development sector, right?
mm,
But if you ask as a leader in the development sector, then yes, because when I came in, this was, like now almost 20 years ago, perhaps, when I first started. I gave up my job with the government and I started doing this. And I felt that there was so little knowledge about the development sector. It was such a gray area. It wasn't like I had been a bureaucrat, all the rules, the laws, how to do everything. If you go to, and I was a corporate wife, right? And
mm,
as a corporate wife, I've seen the corporate world. But this was an area that was like so diffused, and things have changed over the last 18 years. And I think now the government is also putting in a lot of energy into streamlining the development sector. So there were many, many challenges in that sense, not knowing where to find the information, not knowing actually what was right and what was wrong sometimes. The development sector in India has not really been, people don't necessarily look at it well. People are
mm,
suspicious of what NGOs do. Those are challenges. Also, just in terms of growing, like I told you, we've scaled up, right? We were a small organization. We started in New Delhi. Today, we work across the country. We work in 22 states, right? And we're determined to work across the spectrum. So, challenges were more to do with the how, the where, how do you find the funding, how do you find human resource, right? And how do you afford that human resource? The corporate world pays big salaries. The government has its own government salaries, its structures. But here's a sector where, getting good manpower is its own challenge. And if you want to pay for it, then people don't recognize that the development sector needs to have big salaries as well, right? So there have been a lot of challenges as a leader of an organization. But if you ask me as a woman leader, I don't think the challenges are, I have not faced those kind of challenges, maybe because I just feel that I'm a strong, capable woman.
mm.
So,
Great. So you're always on the go, and it's been like so many years now. So how do you always stay on the top of your game?
Vrinda, I mentioned that I'd been depressed when I had cancer. And so, apart from the fact that I fought and battled cancer with a lot of support from my ex-husband, from my children, from my family, from my friends, but I also fought that depression. And through that time, I think the combined, impact of that for me is learning how to look after myself. So, number one, I chose to be happy. There's a choice between life is what it is. So, I said I'll choose to be happy, right?
Mm,
Number two, I said I choose to be positive. I can choose to be negative or positive. Let me choose to be positive. So, there are bad days. Sure, there are tough days. There are very, very stressful days. But if I'm making the choice of being positive and being happy, then I'll work towards that. So I developed toolkits, right? A toolkit on how to cope, right? And say, okay, if it's a bad day, this is what I can do. If I'm feeling like really terrible, let me go to the hospital and spend time with the families. Because if I think my life is bad, the families who I help really have a tough time. So when you see it in the context of that, it starts building you up. When you see that, okay, you're making a difference to the lives of other people, that starts making you feel positive, right? So I think that being able to learn how to address the issue and cope with it has been important. There was a phase in my life when I was just angry a lot with, having to build capacity, having to be my chair. I was the chair, I'm the chairman, but also the CEO at that time. I just started getting angry. So then
Mm.
I found that, okay, I need to address anger management as an issue. So I actually worked at it methodically to correct it because I said it's taking away from my happiness. I want to be happy.
Mm.
That's been my, my mantra of, that's what I tell my son this too, my younger son. He has, he's working on anxiety. So I told him, you have a choice. You have, you can choose to be happy or you can let it suck you in and be sad about it. Be happy.
Mm.
That's
Right,
worked.
right, right. So throughout throughout these years, there must have been, I'm sure, so many milestones that you remember and you're so proud of. But what would be that one achievement or milestone that's especially close to your heart?
So, it's really difficult to say one. I'm 60 years old now. I started when I was 38, 40, when I started on this particular journey,
Mm.
right? I mean, on a personal front, I have a wonderful life, so I have nothing to complain. I have friends, I have family, I'm well off. I don't struggle for, I, my health is okay. So I would say gratitude is a big, big thing for me. I'm just grateful for the
Mm.
life that I have. On the can kids or a work front, I call myself a cancer advocate. I'm fighting a war against cancer. And the journey itself, I have learned so much, but so many people who have come and joined and helped and worked with me. So when I look back today, I say, okay, I started off with a dream and a vision, any child with cancer in the country. And what we've been able to create as an organization, as a structure, as a network, the stakeholder engagements we have done, that's important. The one other thing that I also treasure is empowerment. So I not only believe that I have worked on my own empowerment, but we have, empowered parents, we have empowered survivors. The word Sashakt is important. I call myself Durga Shakti. And I feel that we have actually built big parent and survivor groups. We have empowered social support teams. Recently, we were doing a nurses conference. And I said, okay, now we are going to start working on nurses for childhood cancer and their empowerment. So I think somebody once made fun of me and said, you're a dictator, you want to change the world. But I'm not a dictator, but I think I am proud of the fact that I want to help people and to empower people, not just help them, but empower people as well. So yeah, long
Mhm.
answer because it's very difficult at 60 to say this is the one achievement I'm proudest of. Very difficult.
No, no, I get that. So, on the topic of empowerment, like you mentioned, what would be your definition of an empowered woman?
An empowered woman, one who has self-worth and self-belief. And I can tell you it's not easy in the Indian context to have that, right? So, which is why when I say I'm Durga Shakti, it's part of the I believe in myself. If I feel that I'm strong and capable, then people around me will start believing that, right? So number one, having a sense of self-worth and believing in yourself is important. The second piece of it is around an ability to determine your own choices, to be able
Mm.
to be your own decision maker. That is possible even if you're married, even if you're a daughter. In all ways, are you someone who has the ability to make your own choices and your own decisions? The third one is then to the ability to actually be respected on equal terms by everybody, right? And finally, the fourth one for me is actually to be able to then make social change within myself, within the community around me, within my nieces, my children, uh, within society,
Mm.
and for the country. Very important.
Mm-hmm. And what would be your advice for aspiring women entrepreneurs today?
So importantly, I think most important would be create balance, right? I don't know if you know, there's a Japanese term, ikigai,
Mm.
right? It's the way I have also chosen to lead my life. The idea of getting up in the morning and saying, my life has meaning. But for women who want to be entrepreneurs, first and foremost, I would say create balance between, yourself, your family, your relationships, your work, society, and the country, your community and the country. Now, to create that balance, you have to be intelligent about it, right? So, as a very small example, I often tell women that if you're going to work or if you're going to lead something, you're going to have to invest a lot of you. So, if you don't have good relationships within your family to support you, you're
Mm.
not going to be able to do it, right? If your husband doesn't support you, you're not going to be able to do it. If your children don't support you, you're not going to be able to do it, right? So that's important. The
Mm.
second thing is, when you make intelligent decisions, then you say, okay, fine. If I want to work and I also want to consider my family important, then have I, maybe had we are blessed to live in a country where you can have good health. So what I have achieved is because and I'm a single woman, right? But I have excellent staff at home. My house manager is my companion. And because of her, and I invest in her. I build her up. I make sure that she feels more and more of a woman, right? So she manages my home for me. Otherwise, I cannot work the hours I do or do what I have to do if I don't have that, right? The third is around, being intelligent, building up yourself, upskilling yourself all the time, right? So if you want to be a woman entrepreneur, if you want to grow something, then you have to be on top of it. So you have to keep learning, you have to keep growing yourself, you have to use the help of people around you, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
then finally, you have to be patient. Patience is important because if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's not going to happen within a day. Some people may luck out and, set up something and really do well immediately. But if you don't have the patience to go it in the long run, it's sometimes, methodical. It's about creating structures. It's about creating systems. It's about financially understanding, being a manager. So I always tell women that, you have to manage your homes and you have to manage your work, both.
Mm.
So there's a course called Vedika for a women's management course. I mentor over there and I'm part of a women's alliance over there. And I feel that's an important course because it teaches you to be a manager even in your home. If you don't manage your home in management style, then sometimes as a working woman or an entrepreneur, you will not be able to succeed because women do have a larger challenge. We have babies.
Mm.
So, right, we're the ones who are going to have the babies. We're the ones who are
Mm.
going to have to look after. We're nurturers, right? Women are nurturers. So
Right.
you want to look after your home. You don't want to not look after your home. Yes, your husband, your life partner would do so too, but in a different way. Right? So then if you don't learn to manage all of this, you will do it at the cost of something.
Mm.
Right. And you asked me another question on women and challenges in India. Yeah, I mean, I don't deny that there are challenges. There are real challenges, right? There are challenges from history, there are challenges from tradition, there are challenges. I see young girls coming out to work, and then when they work, they go home, and if their in-laws are looking after their children, they'll just dump the children on them. Say, we looked after your children the whole day. Now you look after the child, with no thought for the fact that this woman has been working all day and will probably put the child to bed, look after the in-laws, look after the husband, and then sit down to work again.
Mm.
Right. So I think therefore learning how to manage all this is very important and to have the determination because you are fighting challenges. Young women continue in India to be challenged by our society, by our views. People just assume if even if you're working, you must prioritize your home all the time. That priority can't happen unless there's a balance. And the balance is not just yours, the balance is of the people around you.
Mm.
So one thing that I have been able to do is that, to develop an understanding amongst my own children. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that my boys who are 29 and 25 today have supported me right through. There have been low moments. I've said, should I give it up? I don't seem to have enough time for you. And they've said, no, you're doing the right thing. So they have believed in me. But that is also because I have inculcated that in them, and a respect for a mother who works, who puts in so much of her effort into what she's doing, and at the same time says, I prioritize you.
Mm.
Right? So that I would say most important for me is that word balance, and learning how to create that balance and doing it with a level of intelligence.
Mm. Okay, great. And lastly, what would be your success mantra?
So I have a pledge, and I think maybe I'll say it for you because it is something I wrote back when I first started my work. And there was a young lady, Ritubhala. She's in fact my mentee, and I uh, I had written this for her, with her in mind. So it goes like this: because I am able, because I can do anything I set my mind to. Dream big, reach for the stars, and touch the sky. Then hold out a helping hand and be the wind beneath her wings. Soaring upwards, fly in the face of her storm and share the joy of the rainbow. Bask together in the sun. Forever stand tall. Be a hero among heroes. Because I can.
Wow, that was that was wonderful.
So I'd written this for Ritu many, many years ago. She's grown up. She's now, by the way, she went to Vedika School of Management. We were able to place her there. She's a two-time survivor. She's working, she's doing really well and helping as a survivor leader. So, you asked me about achievements, and when I see my survivors, when I see the parents who we've empowered go out, become, saksham on their own, it's just it's a real feeling of pride. So I had written this for her. It's become the CanKids pledge, both in Hindi and in English, we say it. And to me, it captures what we do, to dream big, to be ambitious, to work towards that. I had a pledge, I had an ambition. I worked towards it methodically all my life, right? All these last 20 years. A lot of people have joined me, and you can't do this on your own. So having that understanding of working with people, having God's blessings right through, very important, right? To know and acknowledge and have that gratitude, very, very important.
I
So I
agree.
think I think it's been a good journey overall, and I feel like, I feel good. I
Hmm.
feel good about it.
That's so nice to hear. Really. Well, thank you so much. It was really
So
nice.
I want to say something in addition, right? So I also want to say that, raising the scale up that we have done has been difficult, right? We started small. Today we're pan India, and it's an organization founded by me, but we raise funds and we look for people. And that I'm finding that as we've scaled up, it becomes more and more difficult. So if you were a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or a Reliance Foundation or a corporate backed foundation, then you know that you can keep scaling up. But for organizations like ours, I think there need to be better ways for us to be able to find good resource. And so I think that if there are people out there who, well, may get inspired, but equally if there are people out there who want to help, who want to be able to contribute, I find that not enough people come into the development sector and to
Mm.
contribute at that level. I feel like if there's one message I would like to give, perhaps from what happened to me as an expat wife, as a civil services officer who said, okay, I have so much to give, and why don't I put it to use in one area? So I would like to make that. I'm 60. I feel like I'll work another few years. I just like to put an appeal out there to other people, to other women, to say, if you want challenging, it's intelligent work, it's rewarding. Why aren't more women coming to do this? Right? We could really use more help.
Mm.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that was really nice. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vrinda.